Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I got something very important to talk about, and that is that this month of May, we have a major change with Rahu, the north node of the moon, going into the sign Aquarius, and Ketu, the south node of the moon, going into the sign of Leo. This is huge when the Rahu and Ketu change signs, and this is the month that it will occur. Now, there's a lot I could talk about with the nodes, and one thing I will say is they are these points in space where the moon actually hits the ecliptic, the apparent path of the sun around the earth, and where it hits that ecliptic going upward is Rahu. Where it hits the ecliptic on the opposite side, exactly opposite, going downward, it's Ketu. And I've always said that Rahu's what brings us into the world, and Ketu's what takes us out of the world. They are exactly opposite, and wherever they are, either in the heavens or in your birth chart, will speak volumes about your destiny, where we're headed. This lifetime, where it sits in your chart, will tell you so much about your future and your past. And of course, give you direction in the present time. So before I continue on, I want to remind everyone to sign up for my free newsletter. Go to galacticcenter.org. There you will get my newsletter free, delivered weekly with all of my predictions. Also, while you're at galacticcenter.org, don't forget to check out my Patreon page. This is a spiritual community. We meet weekly. There are so many offerings, like the free magazine, and being part of a community that you will cherish and love. So check it out on my website, my Patreon page. Another thing is, do not forget my galactic planner. If you want to know how the planets are affecting your individual chart, you're going to want the planner. It takes your chart and it will calculate all the transits and deliver these aspects to your calendar in your phone or computer, where you can be guided by the stars personally every day. Just check it out. It is amazing. Try it out. galacticplanner.com. And last but not least, remember, if you want to become my student, study with me, go to University of vedicastrology.com. Now let's get going and talk about where Rahu and Ketu are headed. And I am taking all of the information out of my new book, which is World Predictions 2024 to 2042. If you want a copy of this book, you can find it on Amazon, or you can find a link to it through my website, Galactic Center. This is a book that predicts the future based on where Rahu and Ketu are. That's why I'm referring to this book significantly right now. And everything that I'm talking about is in this book on the chapter of Rahu being in Aquarius and Ketu being in Leo. And Rahu and Ketu will change signs May 29th. This is the 29th of May 2025, and they stay in a sign for 18 months. So they will continue to be here till November 25th of 2026. Now, I use the true node. There's something called the true and the mean node. The true node is where the nodes really are, Rahu and Ketu. The mean node is a calculation of moving it 1.5 degrees each and every month, because there are times when Rahu and Ketu stand still for 3 months, as a matter of fact, because every time we come around the time of eclipses, they stand still. Then about 3 months after that, or 3 months within that period of an eclipse, then they start to move rapidly. And remember also that the nodal axis travels backwards in the zodiac. So all these things are things you probably didn't know. But let me get down to the point of what it means for us. So as astrologers, we always go backwards in time to see what it produced before. And actually, as I have noted, there are particular signs that when Rahu and Ketu go in them, they create very drastic events, such as I've told everyone so many times about when Rahu goes into Gemini and Ketu and Sag. There is always a catastrophic event. And takes about 18 and a half years for them to go through all 12 signs of the zodiac. So what I discovered was every time that Rahu was in Gemini and Ketu and Sag, we had something catastrophic, such as COVID, which I predicted based on this. 18 and a half years before that was September 11th. And then 18 and a half years prior to that was the AIDS virus. Going back another 18 and a half, Kennedy's assassination, 1945, 18 and a half, was the bombing of Hiroshima. Always something catastrophic. So now I want to talk about the different years that Rahu was in Aquarius and Ketu in Leo. And that's all documented. As a matter of fact, in this book, I go through all of the 12 signs that Rahu and Ketu will go through. And that was pretty much the 18 and a half year cycle. I took it a little bit further, but that was from the year that I started this book, 2024 through 2042. So what do we have before with Rahu being in Aquarius and Ketu being in Leo? Well, first of all, let me go over some of the catastrophes that happened. Interestingly enough, World War I began in 1914, and 15 to 20 million people died. That is pretty extreme, but let's go back to some things that we can remember a lot clearer. It was in 1989 and 1988 that we had the Tiananmen Square massacre in China. And what I found is this is a time of great revolts. And that was the students in China revolting against the government. And China didn't take kindly to that at all, killing so many of those protesting students. It was very, very sad. Another thing that happened in 1988, while Rahu was in Aquarius and Ketu in Leo, was the Pan Am crash that occurred over Lockerbie, Scotland. And what's significant about that, that was the early beginnings of terrorism. That's what that crash was all about. An explosive was on the plane. When it reached a certain altitude, the plane exploded and killing everyone. It's not all bad though. I found some amazing things that happened before with Rahu being in Aquarius and Ketu in Leo, because Aquarius is the sign of invention. It's a sign of discovery as well as healing, because one of the nakshatras that is fully contained within the sign of Aquarius is Shatabishak. That nakshatra is the 100 healers. And I predict in this time span that we're looking at, the next 18 months, that we will have some incredible cures to major diseases such as cancer, such as mental diseases, such as addictions. So much is about to transpire in the area of healing and vibrational healing. That's where I see it all going, because Aquarius does deal with vibrational healing. So some of the discoveries that happened before was actually in the year of 2007. This was when the Apple phone came out. Steve Jobs got the Apple phone out to us all. This has changed our lives, the iPhone. Absolutely, everyone has an iPhone, whether you have the competitor to the iPhone, whatever. This was where cellular phones came out and came into being. This has changed our life beyond belief. So that was 2007. 1969 was another time that we had Rahu and Aquarius, Ketu and Leo. And we put a man on the moon. Yes, we did. I know there's a conspiracy saying it didn't happen. I was around. We all watched it on our TV. That's when Apollo 11 landed on the moon, and Neil Armstrong was the first man to walk on the moon, 1969. I remember it was August, yes, around that time. And get this, you're not going to believe this, but this is when the internet was invented in 1969. At UCLA, that was the very beginning of the internet. All these things have transpired and incredibly changed our lives. And with AI coming up here and robots, oh my goodness, are we going to see a change in this 18 months beginning with this. Now, as I said, it was a time of revolt. We're going to see lots of revolts. And I actually do see where the most dangerous revolts are going to be happening in June and July, because that is going to be around June 20th when Ketu conjuncts Mars. When Ketu conjuncts Mars, you will see there's going to be so much revolting and fighting, because that deals with terrorism. That is a dangerous time. And as well, actually it's going to be June 20th. I'm going to talk about this in other videos, that Mars will be 7 degrees in aspect to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. I'm going to talk about that in great detail. Another thing is July 20th is actually the date when Ketu and Mars will exactly conjunct at 25 degrees of Leo. Look out. The days of, well, I want to say summer, but I know in the southern hemisphere it's your winter, but I'll just say June and July. Look out. We're going to have some terrorist attacks, and we're going to have protest violence occurring. Now, some other things that happened a long time ago was the Bola cyclone, which happened in East Pakistan. And there were between, well, this is a big sum of numbers, but this was all I could conjure up, between 300 to 500,000 people that died. That is a lot of people. Another thing, there was, let's see, I've got it all in this book, Armenian earthquake, December 7th of 1988, killed 25,000 people. Wow. And yes, and the other things I've mentioned, but this is going to be an amazing time of change, especially around invention. And I actually see by the eclipse that happens February 17th in 2026 in Aquarius, that Jupiter will be in a trinal aspect to Rahu. And this represents great prosperity, expansion, healing. So many healings will be occurring. Now, I want you also to know that by the summer, the June through August of 2025, this will be when the Saturn-Neptune come together around 6 to 7 degrees of Pisces. And in February of 2026, they will exactly conjunct around those degree markings again. And what we have during this time is they will be in Pisces, of course, and they are conjunct the fixed star called Sheet. I look at these stars. They're very important. This star particularly deals with shipwrecks. And let me remind you, both Saturn and Neptune rule oil. Saturn rules crude oil, what's underneath the ground, and Neptune rules gas and oil. So together, you're going to see some catastrophes around oil, pipelines, and a lot is going to happen with people controlling the oil production to pretty much stifle and cause havoc around the world in terms of energy. And another thing, with it being in Aquarius, Rahu, you're going to find some incredible cyber attacks, things going on with the internet, with downing things. This is beyond belief. This is going to be the worst ever. And, you know, there could be stuff going on with airplanes because of the Pan Am crash that happened in '88. But I feel like things with ships are going to be the most important. So watch out. There can be some major problems with either cruise ships and or tankers with oil, major oil leaks, and or with ships that are involved with war. There will be major blowups and fighting on the water, in the oceans, and major travel problems, and shipping, and computer outages. But aside from all that, there's going to be some incredible inventions with space technology, how we travel. We're going to jump into a world of amazing discovery and, yes, going to other planets, things of this nature. So in healings, this is the best yet to come, about major healings through technology, through vibrations, through dealing with frequencies. We're going to be able to heal the body in many ways we never thought possible. I'm looking forward to this big shift of Rahu coming into Aquarius and Ketu being in Leo. You better believe there's going to be some major shifts and changes in rulership and leadership around the world. This will be remarkable. So with that, I hope you have a better feel of what the nodal axes, Rahu and Ketu, mean for us coming into Rahu in Aquarius and Ketu in Leo. And I go through all of the signs, not just that, for all of the years coming up into the future. I have a lot more to share with you on YouTube about that. So stay tuned, and remember, if you'd like to study with me, become my student, go to University of Vedicastrology.com. Thank you.